Montreal Canadiens general manager Kent Hughes held his mid-season press conference this week. What did he have to say? So Kent Hughes didn't drop any tremendously major surprises when he met with the media earlier this week for his annual mid-season press availability. But he did have some interesting things to say. In fact, on today's video, I'm going to bring you 5 things that I thought were kind of notable that Kent Hughes had to say, including whether or not he's planning to trade Sean Monahan soon. First up is the reality versus expectations. Kind of what is the current state of the team versus what Kent Hughes was expecting the team to be at this point in the season. He admitted that they certainly weren't anticipating major injuries like Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook, talking about how the loss of Dach for the season takes away another year that they're able to evaluate him, and that Newhook's injury certainly came at a terrible time when he was just starting to develop some chemistry with Nick Suzuki. He went on to say that the coaches have handled the quote-unquote cards that they've been dealt fairly well, but also admitted that they know that they don't have enough depth quite yet, that they want to get there, but they know they don't have enough depth quite just yet. He is pleased, however, with the progress of Juraj Slafkovsky and, as he calls it, the early look and the early progress of defenseman Jayden Struble. So seems to be pleased with some of the young prospect development. Basically also said Sam Montembeault starting to show a bit more consistency, and consistency was kind of a key for him, that is what he wants to see the team start to really focus on, is being able to perform with consistency. Number 2, are there too many young defensemen on the roster and in the pipeline? This has been a little bit of a recurring theme this season, with the acknowledgement that they've got some really good young prospects on the blue line right now in Montreal. There are more stockpiled in Laval, Arber Xhekaj, Logan Mailloux, and there's more coming. Lane Hutson also obviously having a tremendous season. When is David Reinbacher going to be ready? And so the question being, is he going to have to start to make moves, whether it's trading some of those prospects away or trading some of the let's say, mediocre veterans away? Is there any urgency for Kent Hughes to start thinning the herd a bit of young D-men? And just like consistency was the word in the first item, progression was the word for Kent Hughes when it relates to this topic. And he said, really, whether they're progressing at the NHL level or the AHL level, the amount of progression, the rate of progression is what they're going to really key in on as they start to make those decisions. However, he did note that they're not in any rush to make those decisions. They're not in any rush whatsoever to start trading away defensemen, whether they're veterans or prospects. He noted that waivers could play a factor. He said waivers sometimes forces your hand. So it sounds like maybe there's a situation where he might be okay with potentially losing a defenseman to waivers should they be sent down, placed on waivers with the intention to send them to Laval. But all in all, no urgency to make a trade. He also did note that he's pleased with how Arber Xhekaj is doing in Laval right now, and that he also believes Arber Xhekaj's steady improvement and strong performances in Laval have also gone a long way to helping Logan Mailloux in Laval and progressing his game as well, which he sees kind of as a double bonus. Speaking of the AHL, how about development in the AHL, specifically the coaches? He was asked specifically, how do you feel Jean-Francois Houle, JF Houle, is doing in Laval? And he says, quote, he's done a great job. But he then also referenced and listed all of the development staff, the Adam Nicholas, the Frankie Bouillon, those kinds of names who have consistently been a presence in Laval as well, working on player development. Overall, he He thinks that they're on a great run right now, and he's hopeful if that continues that the players in Laval might get some playoff run experience if they can continue the progression that they're seeing in the last 3 weeks or so. So overall, it sounds like Kent Hughes is pretty pleased with how things are going in the AHL. Which I will say, it's probably fortunate that Laval has gone on an 8-1-1 run here lately in their last 10 games, because if they hadn't, you might have had a very different answer to that question when you look at how horribly Laval started the season for the first 2.5 months or so. Hey, before we continue reviewing what Kent Hughes had to say earlier this week, don't forget, if you're enjoying this video and all of the content here on the channel, don't forget to tap the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so that you never miss any of our videos. Okay, next up, you knew it was coming, the 3 goaltender rotation. What gives? Kent Hughes readily said, I was the one to make the call to go with 3 goaltenders. We felt very strongly in the preseason that Caden Primo would be picked up on waivers if we exposed him to waivers. We weren't willing to do that. He went on to say the plan was never to carry 3 goaltenders for the entire season, that they would be open to trade possibilities should they come along. And then he continued that to say it's still not the plan to keep 3 goaltenders for the entire season. However, he did then say, and I quote, I can't guarantee you that we're 100% sure we're going to make a trade. So it sounds like Kent Hughes readily admits this wasn't the plan necessarily to have this drag out this long. It's still not the plan to have it drag through to the end of the season. We're still open to trade options, but I can't guarantee that the right trade is going to come along. So it's still kind of this is how it's going to be for a while, maybe for the rest of the season. Unless somebody comes in with an offer Kent Hughes can't refuse. Finally, number 5, I teased this at the top of the video. Will Sean Monahan get traded before the deadline? And this question was posed to Kent Hughes kind of in terms of the speculation that one of the reasons Sean Monahan agreed to sign over the summer was that Kent Hughes made him some sort of promise that he would be traded to a contending team at the deadline. Kent Hughes it took a moment to kind of find the right words to answer this particular question. And he said, it's one of those things when you're signing a player to a 1-year contract like this, in a state of a rebuild, which I found interesting. Kent Hughes, again, would not say rebuild. He paused a bit. He said, like a team like us where we're, quote, in a phase of building. So could the player agree to be part of that, but at the same time wanting to make sure that he would get significant playing time because he's had a couple of injury-riddled seasons and wasn't getting consistent play. And so Kent Hughes basically said those things all came together, and then it's just an open-ended situation. He says it continues to be an open-ended situation, and remarked, quote, come here, play, and we'll see where we are when we get to the deadline. So it was really kind of a non-answer, saying, I didn't make Sean Monahan any promises. I haven't made a decision about Sean Monahan, and it sounds like if the right trade offer came along at the deadline, that Kent Hughes would help send Sean Monahan somewhere to maybe a team that was contending more than the Habs were. But if it's not the right offer, that maybe they might stick around and wait till later to make the decision, both for them and Sean Monahan, of what his future will look like. And I've got to ask, what do you think? Do you think now is the time to trade Sean Monahan, or would you prefer to see him stick around through the rest of the season and then see what happens in the offseason, maybe let him go to free agency? Leave me a comment down below. Would like to know your thoughts on that. And there you have it. Those are the key takeaways from Kent Hughes' mid-season state of the team address, I guess you could call it, from earlier this week. Some interesting tidbits, no big drama or anything like that, but definitely some interesting comments from Kent Hughes. One of those things that I did just mention was that he was pleased with how things are going in Laval right now. And yes, they are on a little bit of a run. In fact, last week, their performances in 3 games catapulted them into a playoff position in the North Division. If you'd like to hear how the prospects are doing down on the farm in the AHL and what got Laval all the way up into 4th place in the North Division, well, then you're going to want to check out my most recent episode of Rocket Hockey Report. You can watch that right here, and I will see you again next time. Thanks for watching.